Nice. Hey everybody, just want to welcome you guys again to our Ask Norm segment. And I know this is probably too sexy for all you young women out there watching two old guys sitting on a couch. You know, this is like our version of Tales from the Crypt. But, you know, we're here and, you know, we're trying to get to as many questions as we can. And meanwhile,
yeah,
Nick Dias over here.
Yeah, actually, to what you're just saying, James the Dr. Duncan said, I'm glad you're looking forward to answering all our questions. At the rate of one per video, you should be finished by the year 3042. So we get the point. We'll try and spin it along a bit faster.
We're trying to go as quickly as we can, but we want to answer the questions as well as we can so that we can get to the point. And, you know, we can't answer all the questions. We're trying our best. We're looking at every question that you guys are sending in, and we're getting a million of them. Thank you guys.
Great questions, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of really good questions.
It's hard to pick out the meatiest ones, yeah.
And, you know, so let's get to it so that we can try to get some of these questions so it isn't 3,045.
Noah Hughes wants to know, what, in your opinion, is one of the best left-handed guitars you own or you've come across?
Well, I've had all kinds of cool left-handed guitars. Currently, we have a beautiful 1965 Fender Hardtail Strat in left-handed. We have left-handed Gretsch 6120, early, I think it's early to mid-60s, orange, double cutaway. Yeah. We've got a whole section of lefty guitars.
A couple of Les Paul Customs as well.
Yeah, you know, well, you know, mostly, you know, just good high quality guitars. I mean, I've had left-handed D'Angelicos, Martin 00045s, some of the craziest left-handed guitars on the planet have come through. I had a 58 Les Paul Gold Top that was almost like brand new that I sold. I had a 60 Les Paul Cherry Sunburst Flame Top that was stunning.
Did McEnroe get that one?
That's actually, no, he didn't. That one's actually in my book.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a story about that in the book. So, you know, we try to have some lefty guitars for you guys. I'm left-handed, but I had to learn to play righty because I couldn't find lefty guitars.
And I couldn't find any, could you?
And I had no patience to wait a year and a half. And there wasn't a store like this where I could go and find something.
Yeah, we got a good selection. All right, Wayne Garden wants to know, he says, hi Norm, love your videos and hope to visit the shop one day. I own a Martin D35 and love it. My question is, what's the most valuable Martin you have in the shop, and do you have any really unique Martin guitars?
Well, we have a 1934 Herringbone D28. It's the first year that they came out, and it's a spectacular guitar, just incredible. We have a 1928 00045 that we'll be happy to show you as well. It's also another really insanely cool Martin acoustic. That's a 12-fretter. Yeah. And we just got them from all age groups.
All across the board. Yeah.
Loads of different models, different sizes, different woods, different ornamentation.
And it's usually age that contributes to the rarity of a Martin, right? The older they are, you know, you're lucky if you see one in a lifetime, you know, some of the things he's talking about. So.
Sometimes, you know, guitar value is based on supply and demand. So sometimes you can have something that there's only one of, but nobody seems to care, and that doesn't drive the price up.
Yeah.
It's when 10,000 people want something and there's a million. When there's 10,000 people who want something and there's only, you know, a few
like
that are available.
Like DAT or whatever.
Yeah, it drives the price up.
Right.
So you know, again, if there's something that there's very few of, but nobody seems to care, the price stays low.
Nobody knows what it is. Yeah, I get it. Okay, Joe Thompson says, I'm wondering about the collectability of late 70s, early 80s Strats and how their value may rise or lower over the years.
Well, they're actually, it's not my favorite era for the guitar, but a lot of the times it has to do with, you know, what people, when they were growing up, what they remember seeing people play. So if you remember going to a concert and seeing somebody playing like a late 70s Strat or early 80s Strat, even though it may not be my favorite, it may have a special meaning to you. And, you know, a lot of the times that's really the bonus to buying and collecting guitars.
And it's a particular sound, right? Like
yeah, they have their own sound.
And Travers and
sometimes they weigh a ton, but you know, they have a sound based on that.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Revelry 1969 wants to know, Norm, why do PAFs sound so good? He's talking about the patent applied for a Gibson pickup. I've played hundreds of guitars, none of them comes close to the PAFs in my 61 335. Do you think the modern pickups are anywhere near as good?
Well, there's something in the alloys that they were using to wind those pickups that is really something magical and special, and they try to duplicate it, but it's not something that's easily done. I mean, you've played.
Yeah, there just seems to be, like you said, it's alchemy or a bit of magic, whatever alloy they used. I don't think they're allowed to use the same lead content in the metal. I think the EPA or emissions people say, no, you can't use that type of nickel. So it's material you can't really get anymore.
And a lot of times it has to do with the weight of the guitar, the wood in the guitar, just the overall chemistry of the entire instrument.
Right.
Not just the pickup. I mean,
It's
each
the
one of
whole
those
thing.
things is something special, but when they're combined, that's where the magic
The magic
happens.
just all, yeah, like the perfect recipe, the perfect storm.
So to further explain a little bit on this PAF question, I brought in my amp tech and electric guitar tech, John Tucci. And John, regarding the PAFs, what's your thought?
Well, a lot of it had to do back then in the 50s when Gibson decided to make them. They were getting magnets wherever they could. So you had Alnico 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s all mixed in. And back then they would use whatever they could get. So my belief is that some of those older PAFs, the original ones, had Alnico 4s. And later on, after you get into the 60s, they went to a standard Alnico 5, which the rest of the way they used those. Also on a humbucker, you have the 2 coils. And each one of those is wound to about 4K DC resistance, 4 and 4 equaling 8. That's usually the output of a humbucker. Well, back then when they were winding, they weren't so stringent on the machines they were using or their methods, and you might get one that had a resistance of 5 and the other one a 3 equaling 8, or you get a 4 and 4, or sometimes a 6 and a 2. Whoever knew what they wound back then just to make it equal to 8. So that off balance of quality control probably led a lot to that sound that you're hearing in the old PAFs.
And it made them all sort of unique to themselves.
Very unique.
And now everything is so cookie cutter. And plus, the alloys too,
Right.
as we were saying.
Also the rings, the material of the rings, they found out made a huge difference. And the covers. A lot of people took the covers off, and they had chrome covers, but they say that the pure nickel was the least altering of tone on a humbucker pickup. So,
Well, the old PAFs had nickel covers.
Yeah.
So, but then
might lend to
later to the patent numbers, they went to the chrome covers.
right, that may add to the whole, menu.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows the complete answer, but everybody just can kind of point to all the different little things, and then whatever it is that made that magic, that was it.
Right, the manufacturer of the wire, everything. So,
Cool.
but just a little bit more info that you might consider why they're so unique.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Always like to get another good opinion. So,
Alrighty,
John
good to be
Tucci.
here.
Cool. All right, let's see what else we've got. Do you look out for vintage ukuleles?
actually, I do, and I've got a couple really cool ones right now. I've got a Martin 5K, which is the top of the line. It's sort of like the D45 of ukes, koa wood, which is the most preferred wood for ukuleles. It's a Hawaiian wood. We also have a
That's
3K,
gorgeous
which
stuff.
is killer too.
Yeah.
But we have a number of other ukes and mandolins as well. So we'll be getting to some of that, and we'll probably show them in a future video.
Yeah, and they're quite amazing. Some of those Martin ukes you're talking about, the color ones, they're tiny. They kick out so much sound. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's something would come out of that.
And it's
Smaller
also the
bus.
same amount of workmanship as in a big guitar, as in something small like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's even harder to do because it's so compact.
Because it's tiny. I suppose it is more difficult. All right.
What was the first one that was on the first page?
I'm going to tell
that
you
were
right
talking
now.
about the reason we have these
yeah.
guitars out.
It was a question about what about early Gibson dreadnaughts, apart from what have we got and what's your favorite flat top?
Well, you know, in terms of how the dreadnaughts began, and Gibson has its own version of a dreadnought, it all started with a guitar that's sitting right by you, Nick.
Yeah.
This is called the Gibson Jumbo. And this was the first, this is like 1934. It's just an amazing guitar. This one is just in incredible condition. If you notice the finish on the sides and back too, it's different from all the ones you're going to see later on. It's mahogany, and it's just a really insane sounding guitar.
It's got a nice deep V to the neck. It's a big chunk of wood, and that's where you get its sounds. I mean, it's loud.
Right, and you notice the script pearl logo is what really defines this guitar. And then eventually it goes into the J35. This model sort of evolved into what I'm holding right here, which is the mahogany J35. It's the predecessor to the J45 and J50. And again, this has the script logo, but this time it's the painted logo, and it's you know, it's a little bit different from the Jumbo, but that's where that eventually evolved.
Yeah.
So play a little something on this, because you're a better guitar player than me.
Again, beautiful sound, different than the first one, not quite as deep. But that's that classic Gibson acoustic sound that you're going to hear on like every hit record in the history of.
Right. I mean, this is just really another really great example.
Yeah.
And then it kind of evolved into this, which is one of the most valuable Gibson acoustics. This is an advanced jumbo. And this one here is from the late 30s. It's rosewood sides and back. And they make a lot of reissues of these, and we have them. Yeah. And the reissues are very good. But they're not like this.
Not a patch on the real thing. Yeah.
Play a little on that. And what's cool again is it goes to the script logo with these arrows, almost like Indian arrows on the fingerboard. Just really cool inlays. It's a bound neck where the Jumbo and the J35 was unbound.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
And this is really where it went up into deluxe models. They also, the J200, which we showed you before in the SJ200s, are really cool. That's the Super Jumbo. These are what's known as just the regular Jumbo, the J45, J35, AJ, but the original gigantic ones were the SJ, Super Jumbo, and then they went to just the J200.
Yeah.
So these are really cool, and I hope you guys get to see some of this stuff. This is stuff that you don't see hardly ever, and these are all really beautiful examples.
We done?
Nice. Thank you guys for writing in all these letters to us, and you know, we're really astounded at how many we're getting, and we're going to read every one of them. We just want to try to answer the ones that are going to appeal to the most people, so that you don't, you know, we don't want to just say, well, your guitar is this and it's worth that. It's not. That's going to appeal to you and your sister or your mother-in-law, but we're trying to do what we can to try to appeal to as many people as we can, and try to be a little educational, and then throw you a little of our nonsense. Nick Dias, Norman Harris here at Ask Norm. Thank you guys. Appreciate all those questions that you guys are writing in. Thank you again.
Cheers.